Hi everyone, my name is Sarah, and today I'm going to be going over some of the points that me and my team have worked on our case study on Ava and the intervention plan that we came up with. So, just for a little bit of background information, Ava is 3 years old, she's 40 months, and some of the areas for improvement that were noted either by classroom observation, by professional observation or through her parents were issues with dressing, toileting, some issues with social skills. She had a little bit of trouble like interacting and playing with other children, expressive communication and auditory comprehension, as well as some behavioral issues. Ava is prone to tantrums. So, in terms of the initial evaluation and observation, in the classroom, it was noted that Ava had a difficult time understanding directions. This is what the teacher said kind of led to those tantrums, was that they would give directions and that she just wouldn't be able to understand it, and it became very frustrating for her. She had trouble using language to express wants and needs, so the teachers noted that she would often either pull at them or just point to something instead of being able to use her words to say that she wanted something or that she needed something. Auditory comprehension and expressive speech were below the average range, again, often relying on visual cues in order to be able to fully understand something. She isn't really able to understand just by hearing it, and she isn't really able to communicate the language as well. And then the PLS4 showed that her receptive language skills were low or were not in the normal range. So, my role in this case is the role as a physical therapist, and physical therapists, especially in pediatrics, can do a wide range of skills helping to support gross and fine motor skills, working with mobility issues. There's so many different things that pediatric physical therapists are able to do. Now, I think it is important to note that through the professional observation, Ava's gross and fine motor skills were in the normal range. So, as my role of the physical therapist, I think my role is more of to support the SLP or to support the OT and doing ways to support Ava in those areas for improvement. So, some of the ways that I think that as a physical therapist I could help Ava specifically is to help practice safe navigation around the classroom and playground. Practice self-care. So, for example, dressing and toileting are what are known as ADLs, activities of daily living, stuff that we do every day. And so, if she is struggling with those ADLs, working with the OT or the SLP or whoever I would need to work with in order to help improve upon those skills. Again, work with an OT to help engage in gross motor games and fine motor skills. Her range was normal, but I think helping to overall improve those gross and fine motor skills can in turn help with things like self-care, ADLs, as well as reducing frustration when she maybe is struggling with something if she has better grasp of those gross and fine motor skills and help over improve overall functional limitations as noted in her case study. So, in terms of the MTSS framework, so the tiered support development, tier one goes over classroom support or into classroom-wide interventions. Tier two goes over those small group, and then tier three is the individualized. So, in tier one, stuff that we talked about was direct modeling teacher, like from the teachers in the classroom-wide activities. So, example, continuing to use those visual cues, acting out things. As they're going throughout the day to help Ava better able to be understand and know what's going on and to help maybe reduce a little bit of that frustration that she's feeling, as well as an inclusive classroom structure. So whether that be the one that I thought would be the most helpful would be having like a safe space area. That was something that I talked about in my discussion post was having those like safe space areas to help reduce the feeling of overwhelmed and like overstimulation and help reduce that frustration. So having that inclusive classroom structure and environment. In terms of tier two, those small group activities. So I was thinking about, small reading groups to work on speech and vocabulary, again, heavily involving those visual cues to help make that connection between hearing it and seeing it. And again, even small group mobility activities, whether that could be working with somebody in the school to do exercises or to stretch or to do something like that to help improve upon those mobility and everyday skills. And then for tier three, Support, I would believe that as a PT, individualized support would come with an OT or an SLP or even just the PT by themselves to help with those speech skills and ADLs. This is something that would be done at a higher frequency and would be done more intensively. So, for example, whether this might look up like taking time out of the school day to do this, whether this be done at home, something like that, so that really a professional can work one-on-one with Ava and help with those skills. So, how are we going to measure and adjust these things as needed? Like, how are we going to know that down the line, are these interventions that we're doing, are they working? So, the two indicators that I would personally use would be the preschool early literacy indicator and monitoring those to see, is her speech improving? Is her auditory comprehension improving? Are her language skills improving? So using monitoring throughout the year, coming back and checking, retesting, redoing observations and seeing, are these working? And if they are working, that's great. We're going to continue to do them. If they're not, then we go back and we make those adjustments. And the same thing kind of with the individualized growth development indicator. Those would be bi-weekly progress reviews to measure the overall development. So whether that includes speech, but also things like, is she improving upon her ADLs and those sorts of things. And then also what can be done at home. Again, we've learned through this class that at-home support does help to at-home support does help to reinforce those skills that she is learning. So, for example, bringing in SLPs, OTs, PTs, behavioral specialists, all of those people in the home environment, if and when able, to help improve and reinforce those new skills for Ava. So, example, that could be working on toileting or dressing, or working on speech. All of those things. And again, at home continuation, parents can continue to work on things such as visual cues and directions. So like when it's being what's being done in the classroom, if the parents are able to continue that at home, that would be something that would help reinforce those skills for Ava. And then also the use of community support. If and when able, if the community has those resources, we don't know much about Ava's financial situation at home. We know that there's no other, it is limited, but we still have a little bit more information that we were looking to find. So again, utilizing community resources as able. Something that I thought of would be if the library has like a weekly story time on the weekends, like bringing Ava to that to help, see things and reinforce those hearing and those skills. And I think that would also help with her social skills as well. In conclusion, and we are talking about working on those ADLs, maybe as the role of a physical therapist, working on things such as toileting and dressing, improving reading, speech, and comprehension skills, those support from frames, so tier one, tier two, tier three supports, individualized, small group and classroom wide. Um, Monitoring, again, using those two indicators to track and assess growth, and then making necessary adjustments as needed, continuing the supports at home, and then again, as the physical therapist, making sure that we are supporting her in mobility issues and ADLs and all of those things. Thank you guys so much.